Alright lads, my name is Metagoblin and welcome to another video. This is going to be another one of those videos where I just kind of like look at the problems of a game and just kind of like reassess it, evaluate it and come up with a better version. So today, I'm building upon how we were slagging off multi-strike in the other video. I'm just going to build upon that basically. So the topic of this video is going to be stats. So like the main problems with stats, for instance, is simply that they're boring. Most of them are just like mathematical increases, like you have a chance to do more damage, or you have a chance for something else, or your attack speed is increased, and it's a little boring. Fair enough, it's quite classical. It's what you'll see in many other games. But when like WoD was released, they started releasing all these interesting stats, which were a little bit more unique and interesting, like leech and speed and indestructible. I didn't even know what indestructible was until quite recently. And I thought Blizzard were going to think like, well, the stats at the moment are kind of boring, let's make it a bit more interesting, so let's make it a bit more customizable. But you don't even have proper access to these tertiary stats, as they're called, because they only have a certain chance to appear on gear. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't play World of Warcraft to like play bloody poker. When I work hard trying to down a boss, I want to be rewarded with good loot. I don't want a chance, for these stats, for these gem slots, So yeah, I hate the probability of getting all these stats, and I think these more interesting stats, these tertiary stats, should be more accessible. But anyway, I had some interesting ideas. I think personally, all the stats right now, like the secondary stats, I think they're all crap. I think they all should be removed. They're just boring. So I was thinking, I had a few ideas. I mean, why not make stats quite class specific, or specialization specific? A bit like mastery. Mastery has its moments in certain different specs. It's kind of like a bit interesting. But I was thinking, perhaps for Unholy Death Knight or any Death Knight spec, each time you death coil, you have this like stat, and there's a certain percentage that you have a chance to summon a ghoul or any other kind of pet, like maybe a form of undead. It could be anything, and perhaps it could even be a pet which heals the raid, or it does more damage, or it buffs a raid or something. I don't know. Something a bit more interesting. So every time you death coil, you just have a chance for these ghouls to appear, and you're throwing out the death coil. Sometimes it stacks. You give it, and perhaps these pets like last for 10 seconds, but perhaps you can get more at once. I also had an idea for warrior. Perhaps you have a certain chance to throw a random weapon in your bag, which will do like the weapon damage, or perhaps like you have a chance for, like, say if you're in arms and you've got one two-handed weapon, like there's a chance that for 5 seconds you pull out an extra weapon. I don't know. Perhaps a warrior can like have a chance to get his ranged weapon out. Like a pistol or something. Why not put pistols into the game? That's another thing I really miss about the game, is the sigil slot, the extra slot, weapon slot. Because warriors used to be able to have like ranged weapons. I really miss that. So perhaps warriors could like pull out a pistol or something. I mean, overall the point is, I think that the stats should be more spec specific, more class specific, and just provide something a little interesting rather than just a mathematical increase. But you might like maths. I don't personally, but you might think I'm talking utter shite. But I think the stats should be a little more interesting. I think the game should be a little more fun and interesting, and I think this is one of the features which could include that. Now, another problem with stats is that you can't really customize your stats properly. Like if you want to stack a certain stat, you basically have to farm gear, and you have to do bosses all over again, over and over again, because they remove reforging. So basically I think they should bring back reforging, but we should revamp it so that you just precisely choose which stats are actually on your gear. Perhaps you don't even need a reforger. Perhaps it's just in a device, perhaps it's been made by a certain profession, like a gemmer or something like that, and you can just like choose which stats you want on your gear. So perhaps, for instance, if you want to stack mastery, you just put mastery on your piece of gear, and you want speed on your piece of gear, you just put speed on. Another thing I really disliked about WoD was when they removed gems and enchants. Lessened them. I don't really understand that. They're basically dumbing down the game and making it more accessible for new players. This isn't League of Legends, This is a this is an online strategy game. You're paying £10 a month. You want it to be difficult. Really, if you're paying £10 a month, you want the game to be really challenging. So why not have all the gems and enchants with these tertiary stats? You've put these stats into the game. There's only a small chance of even obtaining them. Perhaps put them into the gems and enchants, make them a bit more interesting, and give the enchants back. But perhaps they said they were going to lessen the enchants but make the enchants and gems more significant, but really they didn't. Yeah, fair enough, it's a bit annoying getting all the different enchants, but perhaps just stick to having 4 enchants but actually make them quite significant. But yeah, the stats like the speed and the perhaps you can, with an enchant, you can make a piece of gear indestructible, or you can just stack speed if you wanted. Get an extra 10% movement speed with all your enchants. I mean, that's interesting. Or perhaps you want to reduce AoE damage on yourself. Get avoidance. Something like that. Or perhaps you're a tank. You want a bit more. Or perhaps you're playing in PvP. And you want a bit of more survivability. Or you just want to be better at dueling people. Just get a stack leech or something. The stats. You should be able to choose different stats for different situations in PvP as well. There should be 2 viable stats as well. 2 viable spec stats, like the stats we were talking about before, which should be a bit more interesting. Rather than one stat just being the best for your spec, there should be more options. I mean, as a DK, I think haste would be a bit more fun, even though I don't like the stat generally, but I hate being forced to stack mastery or multi-strike. I want to try out haste. I think haste would be fun. There shouldn't just be one viable option. You should be able to pick any stat you want, and it should be able to mathematically give you the same DPS. That's what I dislike about the game as well. Say for instance, haste is better in a certain arena comp, or perhaps you want to stack more speed because you're not playing in a, perhaps you're not playing with a paladin, so you won't have freedom. You want to stack speed or something. The stats should basically just be a bit more interesting and fun. But anyway, that's the end of that discussion, end of that rant. My name is the Metagoblin. Until my next video, ciao.